Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So in this second episode of my Dark Horse disc series, talking about albums that I think are often overlooked by fan bases or underrated, I'm talking about Nightwish's Wishmaster. This follows on from my first episode, which was a collaboration with Chill Dude on a Couch Reviews and JC Rock and Metal Reviews, talking about Metallica's Death Magnetic. So I'm going from Metallica to Nightwish this time, starting this series with two of the biggest bands in metal, really. I mean, you don't get much more popular than Metallica and Nightwish, right? They have worldwide fan bases and a lot of followers. So this was the third studio album from Nightwish, Wishmaster. It came out on the 8th of May 2000 via Spine Farm Records. The album's 11 tracks, 53 minutes in length, and of course features an early era lineup for the band with Tarja on vocals, Thomas, as always, on songwriting and keyboard duties, Ep2 on lead guitar, and the last time that we saw Sami Vanska on bass guitar, and you've got Jukka on drums here as well. And one thing that really struck me about this album on my revisits is that it has a real kind of power metal style to this one. And I think a little like its album, its predecessor, Oceanborn, there is certainly more of that. There's a lot more lead guitar work on this album than I say some of their later albums and more recent albums, which are more orchestral and epic sounding, more theatrical even. This was an album in the early era that's not necessarily, it's certainly not a small sounding album, right? It's still pretty big sounding, but it's definitely got more of a focus, I'd say, on the lead guitar work. But there are beautiful, it's sort of interchanges between those lead guitar moments and Tarja's operatic vocal moments, which are at times on this album spectacular. I have to say that, you'll know if you saw my Nightwish ranking as well, this I rate very highly in this discography. I think this came second. Another reason why I'm calling it a Dark Horse disc is because I do find that at this point in the Nightwish timeline, with hindsight, it's kind of overlooked quite a bit. And I'll go into my explanation of that very shortly. So this was an album where they started to gain a bit more ground in Europe in particular. I think they got to number 1 in the Finnish charts and number 21 in the German charts. So they were becoming better known. And, I have to say, one could argue this was a bit of a breakthrough album, certainly in that first era of the band, the Tarja version of the band, version 1.0 if you like. This was actually getting them some popularity at that point, even at the point of this third album. But as time has gone on, am I calling this a Dark Horse disc? Why do I think it is a bit overlooked by their fan bases? Well, there's a few reasons, I think. And firstly, Nightwish, I think, got their big popularity, the album that launched them globally for me and made them get a breakthrough in the US, in the States, was Once, which came out in 2004, 4 years after this release. That was the album for me that was the album where I got to know them a bit with their hit single Nemo. That was how I came to discover Nightwish, right? That was a huge album. And I think when you look back on the Tarja era, it's the album most people go to first and say, Once. That was a Nightwish album, that was a great album. So that's the first reason I think that this is a little bit overlooked, because even going back as far as the Tarja era, people go to Once more than they would necessarily go to an album like Wishmaster. Or even maybe they go to Century Child a bit more than they go to Wishmaster. A lot has also happened in the band since this album. I mean, you only need to read a few online articles or read even a bit of a history on the band to realise that, the band have been through quite a bit and there's been some fallouts over time, right? They've had a couple of changes of singers, of course. They have had changes of bassists as well. I think the drummer has changed once too. And it's kind of interesting really, because I think because of that, and because of the talk of a lot of their later albums and the huge success they've had with later albums like Endless Form's Most Beautiful, Once and Dark Passion Play, Imagineering, because of the success of those albums, Wishmaster now seems a little bit like it's in the distance, like it's shrunk a little bit in terms of its kind of the way people see it in the Nightwish history, right? Yet, when you look and you listen to the songs on this album, it's a really great album. It's really great. And I think it's part, two of the reasons the cover solo is overlooked is because of all that's happened in the band, and because it didn't quite, maybe looking back now, it didn't have the commercial success a lot of their later albums had. Massive success, right? Another thing I want to say, just to back up my reasoning a bit more here, is that I looked at recent set lists for Nightwish, certainly over the course of the last year. There are hardly any songs they play live from this album anymore. Now, that may be partly because the songs were written for Tara to suit Talia more, maybe, right? But it might also be that, I think that the fans' demands for songs from this album aren't there perhaps quite as much, maybe. It is, they have played Wishmaster quite a bit from this album in the past. I did notice there have been a lot of plays of Wishmaster, the title track on here, in the past. So it's not that necessarily they never play songs from the album, but it seems to be a rare thing in more recent times as well. So I do think this is a genuine Dark Horse album from a massive band. And I thoroughly recommend, if you're new to Nightwish, for instance, or if you've only listened to one particular era of Nightwish, you give this one from the Talia era a chance. Particularly if you like your power metal stuff. You're not going to regret it, I don't think. So what are my favourite tracks from Wishmaster? The opener, undoubtedly, She Is My Sin would be one of them. The title track's incredible for me, Wishmaster. Just such a clever vocal arrangement on that song. And probably Dead Boy's Poem would steal the third spot if I was doing top 3 as per the first video. But shout-outs would go to Phantasmic. And I really love the verse in Deep Silent Complete as well. I think that's great. But there's a lot of great songs in here. I don't think there's a bad track, actually, to be honest with you. It would be a 9 out of 10 if I was scoring it, I have to say. And props for the artwork. And happens to be apparently Nightwish's least personal album because it was a bit more inspired by fantasy themes rather than any personal themes like some of their later works have been. So yeah, go check out Wishmaster. It's a great album. Seriously underrated, I think, looking back now, as I say. Not so much when it came out, perhaps, if you knew Nightwish at the time, but I think it's pretty underrated now in the context of where we have got to with Nightwish at this point in time. So thanks very much, as always, for watching this video. Do drop a like and subscribe if you like my album reviews, or if you like these types of videos, if you like my coverage of stuff, fantasy and horror as well, which I do sometimes on the channel too. Otherwise, from me, take care, everybody. Bye for now. See you next time.